video today, I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful David Austin rose, otherwise known as the Old English rose. It's one of my favourites, and as you can see, there's a few different types that I've done here in this variety. These are just normal roses, but we're looking at these ones with the really kind of fussy centres here. So we're going to have a little go at this one here, which is one of my favourites. Now, the cutter that I'm using is the Very English Rose by FMM. Lovely, lovely cutter, and it actually cuts down on your time so much. So we don't need a lot of equipment for this, believe it or not, and it's going to be quite quick and easy, fingers crossed. So what we're going to do, I've already got my cutters ready. Now when you open the packet, you have 3 cutters in the set. Now the first thing we need to do is concentrate on this smaller one here, and I need to roll out and cut 5 of these shapes. So we're going to put the others to one side and then get my paste at the ready. Now the paste that I'm actually using is the Artista Soft, which is this one here. But I am going to be honest and tell you that the FMM Light and Bright Clay, I think they're virtually the same. So I'm going to be using that one for today. They are virtually the same. So we're going to put those to one side. Now this is a very light clay. It's very soft and it dries almost papery, if that makes sense. So that's why I like doing this particular rose. So what we're going to do, we've softened it, and I have already pre-coloured it with some of this Damask Rose by Edible Art. As you can see, it's quite a deep colour, but I've just given it a little bit of a sprinkling in there and then mixed it all in. So what we're going to do, I'm using a big rolling pin for this, not a small one, because I don't need to roll ridges or anything. I am just rolling the paste. So we press down and roll out. And I want to go quite thin, so I'm leaving quite a big fat sort of ridge here so that I can pick up and move. And then I'm just simply rolling out, and I'll pick up and move and then roll out again. Now a little bit of corn flour underneath. This is important to stop it sticking because we don't want kind of creases or folds appearing in here. So keep rolling, and as you can see, I can just about start to see my board through there, which means I'm going lovely and thin. So a little bit of corn flour, and then I'm simply going to press down, give a little wiggle. There we are. Take away the excess. Now always roll up your excess and pop that away. And then you should have a beautifully cut out shape here. Now you can use your finger just to make sure that that's cut all the way around. And then just pop it out. Now we're going to get a nice foam pad. Pop it on the pad. And then I've got the largest of my ball tools here, and I'm using the smaller ball on the largest set. And then we just go half on the rose and half off, and I'm rolling. So I'm just rolling that ball. I'm not pressing down and rubbing. If I do that, I find that the paste sometimes sticks to itself, which I don't want. So if you look at my finger here, I'm rolling, and it just thins the edge out and makes that come together lovely. Now we're doing that all the way around. So gently keep picking it up, moving it around. It might change the shape a little bit, but that's not important with this. It's a really nice flower to get started. Now once I've done this, this would be a really good time for you to stop the video and make another 4 of these. So we need 5 altogether. So I've done a little bit of preparation, but if you just stop the video, you will have all 5 ready when you press play again. So once we've got the 5 all ready, next thing we're going to do is layer them up together. So if they're going a little bit dry, or if you're using sugar, we need to just put a little bit of water in between. So I'm just getting a bit of water out. I'm putting a little bit of water just in the middle. and then layer them up. So nice and gently, try and get it as even as possible. It's not always easy. A little bit more water. And the next layer. Like I said, it's not always easy to get this laid up. Oops, move that one completely. Try and get it as best you can. A little bit more water there. And then, so we're just putting them all on top of each other. And believe it or not, this cutter and doing this method is saving you hours and hours of work. Believe me. There we go. So now we have layers, 5 layers all stacked together and all roughly in the same position. Now what I'm going to do is just brush a little bit of water down the middle of each one. Now not much at all, just that little bit, and just painting that star shape there. Because then what we need to do is concentrate on each one. I tend to put my finger in and then squeeze together. Now don't squeeze it all the way to the top. We want that bit to be a little bit frilly. So I'm only squeezing at the bottom here. I'm going to move to the next one and do exactly the same. So I'm folding it in half and squeezing in half and squeezing. And you see how it's all coming together now? And the rest will just kind of happen. They just want to be together, which is great. And then we bring it together. Now can you see that is already looking like the centre of the rose, which is exactly what we want. So I'm going to lay that down, because the next thing we need is a 20 gauge wire, and I've already got one that I've cut in half here. I'm just going to get my pliers, put a little bit of a twist in there just so that it holds the paste, and then from the bottom we're going to feed that in. So just from that bottom piece and feed in. Now I'm actually going to push the paste onto that wire as well. We want that to really stick together. Make sure that's looking lovely. Now I do like to kind of just push them in a little bit like so. And what you can also do is get a rolling pin or a stick or a paintbrush, anything you've got. I've got at the end of a paintbrush here, and just move them around so that you're happy with how they're actually sitting. So just open them up a little bit if they need to be, close them if they need to be. There we go. So that's the first part of your rose done already. Now we're going to put that to one side and let that dry. So what I personally do when I'm making these, I would count how many roses I need, and if I need 10 roses I would make 10 of these and then leave them all to dry, and then we can come back when they're dry to finish off. So I'm going to bring this over here and put this with some of mine that I've already got drying. Oops. So if that does happen, if your flower does just slide down your wire, I'm just pushing it back on and really squeeze that back to make sure it's really firm, and then it won't happen again. Now I've got a couple here that I've made previously and they're dry and ready to go, so that's what I'm going to be using next. We're going to put that to one side. Now I would tend to leave them about 24 hours. You haven't got to leave them that long, but I just find it to be a nice number. Now the next thing we do is move to the larger cutter, which is this one here. Now I just want to mention this, I'm not going to show you, but this cutter comes in with the set, and as you can see it's got different size petals there. If you want to do a fuller rose, for example this one here, these are fuller roses in the middle than this one, then all you do is you cut 5 of those one size out, put them all together exactly the same as what we've just done, and then fold them in half and introduce them. But that is for a very, very full rose, and I do think sometimes they look too full, so that's why I'm not demonstrating that one right now. because I do think it can add a little bit too much to the rose. I'm going for simplicity today, and these are, you know, really good, quick and easy cutters. So we've mixed the paste, we get it nice and soft. I'm going to pop that down, and then again with the rolling pin, remember I always leave that nice thick lip, and then we simply roll out. Now this cutter is actually wider, so I'm just going to make sure that that's wide enough. Always add that corn flour just to stop it sticking, and then we press down and really roll that out like so. That's starting to look really good. Okay, now once we've done that, we're going to cut out, and we need 3 of these. So press down, a little bit of a wiggle there, and there's one. I'm going to put it straight onto my foam pad, and then I am going to quickly show you how I cut out more. So remember earlier I asked you to pause the video while you cut out the rest. Well, this is how I would normally do it. So I would keep my big chunk of paste, but then I just roll out a little bit more. So go backwards, really press down and make that paste nice and thin. If we need to go a little bit wider, we can, like so. And corn flour. Corn flour is the big secret here. There we are. Okay. So then we get the large cutter, and again exactly the same thing. Press down, give a little wiggle. You only need 3 of these, but what I will say is if you want to do more, then please do, because I do think it looks nice with maybe 5 sets of these going around. So I'm going to leave it your choice on how many petals you put on the back, but I'm just going to show you the 3 because it's the same technique used for all of them. So, and then we're rolling wider. Remember, we want to make sure that we cover the whole thing. A little bit of corn flour, and then we keep going. There we are. Always corn flour, really important. The last thing you want is for it to stick in any way. Now press down, give a little wiggle, and then that cuts out perfectly. There we go. Now I'm going to bring my pad over here, move these to one side just for a second, and then I'm going to show you what we're doing. Now I do tend to put corn flour on the back of here, just to stop them sticking. And then, exactly the same as we did with the previous petals. So this is your large ball tool, this is the smaller one. So I'm just using this and rolling around the edge. So that bit of the rose isn't changing. And you can really spend time manipulating these and sort of just pulling them in the direction you want to go. But the point of me showing you this today is just a very quick English rose. Now once we've done that, we turn around, and I'm using the big tool now, and I just want to create a little bit of a dip in there. So as you can see, it makes the petal pop up. So we do that all the way around, like so, and we keep moving. Now I'm not holding it down, although my finger's there, I'm not holding it, so just be aware of that. It's just there if the ball tool does get a little bit stuck. And then we're just pressing down. Okay, that's number 1 done. And then we bring over the next one. So this is a little bit repetitive, but it's not as repetitive as if you're using the single cutters and you're making them all in one. This is just much, much quicker. And I do think these are wonderful gifts for Christmas, birthdays. Who wouldn't enjoy having a posy of these? You know, if you don't know what to give to your grandma or to the person next door, I just think a spray of these will look amazing, or a posy of these. It's such a lovely gift. Okay, so that's number 2, and then the last one. So remember, we always press, and I'm pressing quite firm because this petal looks a little bit thicker. So I'm just pressing down a little bit more on here, just to thin out the edge. So if you have your petals and they look a little bit thicker when you're rolling them, just press it a little bit more firmly as you go round. And you'll find that that works really, really well. And then we're softening that inside bit. There we go. Last couple now, and you can see how it really wants to cup up itself, which is great. And the last one. Okay, so now we've got our 3 ready to go. Now I'm going to keep them to one side. So what I want to do now is get my first one, and then I'm just going to pop this into the centre and push down. Now remember, this is dry. This is one that I previously made, and it's already dry and ready to go. I'm going to get a little bit more water and just place around the bottom there, just to make sure. And then we start pushing that around, like so. Now what you will find is it falls, and it's not falling perfectly, but it's fine, because our job now is to bring each petal so that it cups nicely, just using your finger. But then I also give it a little pinch at the back, because then, can you see how that cups beautifully then? So a little bit of a pinch will look lovely. And I'm doing this on all of them, because this is the first one. So nice little pinch, you can see, just adds that cup. Now this is, you know, really good information I'm giving you here, because I know when I first came to do this, I was thinking this just doesn't work. And I looked at the instructions and I was thinking, nope, it's not doing what I want it to do. So these little tips really help. Top tips these are. So always make sure that nice cup. Right, I'm going to put my fingers round. As you can see, it cups beautifully. Now what we're going to do, just making sure it comes down a little bit. What I'm going to do is then put the next one on. So again, we feed through the centre. This time, I want the petals to fall in between. So wherever the petals, there's a gap, I want the next petal to fall. And again, I'm just pressing down to stick, and then doing the same kind of thing, just giving them a little pinch to help them with that lovely sort of cup motion that they have. And we do that all the way around. There we are. And then these will fall really nicely in between each one. Now I'm kind of bringing them down, because I'm just going to hold up and see how they're falling, and they're lovely. They've actually fallen in between each one. I didn't notice that before, but that's fine, because by the time we add the other petals, and they'll really start cupping round. Can you see I really bring it up and around? Okay, so then the next one. So we just feed that through, and exactly the same thing in between each petal. So just move it around slightly, and then just make sure that they're cupping before you press it down. And if you might need to stretch it out a little bit, not too much because you don't want it to tear, but just enough so that that really looks nice. There we are. Okay, so I'm going to just bring that back up. As you can see, that's really starting to look nice. Now, another tip that I give you, depending on how open you would like your rose to be, you can put a little bit of tin foil behind there just to support it, and that will dry as you want it. But what I tend to do is put it upside down, and then I do make sure that the petals are really sort of cupping around as we want them to. And then if you just bend the wires so it's in an L shape, and then we pop that in there and it will just fall naturally. And that's exactly what I've done with this one. And as you can see, that's looking really good. So I'm going to move that to one side, and then I'm going to show you how to do the calyx. Now the calyx is a separate cutter, so you do have to buy this one separately. But it's one I use for all my roses because it's a really nice big size, which is what we want. Now I'm actually going to use the same colour, the pink, but then I'm going to colour it using a little bit of autumn green by Edible Art. So we put that out, whoops, and then gently press and then start kneading together. And then it will suddenly start changing colour, hopefully. There it goes. And it's got a good base colour using that pink. I never tend to get the fresh colour out, I always use the one that was there. I just find it easy to do that. Now I do rub my paste on the board just because I coloured over the board and I don't want any heavy specks of colour. So be aware of that. I'm going to put the lid back onto my colour, otherwise it goes everywhere. And then we're ready to go. Now different people do their calyxes differently. This is the way I personally always do it. I don't think there's a right or wrong way. As long as it looks good when you've finished, then you should be happy. So we press down to roll out again. And I only want something this big, but I still want it to be nice and thin. I don't want it to be really sort of chubby. So we press down, that's lovely and thin. And I've always got this anchor just so that I can lift it up as well. Now a little bit of corn flour, and then we just press down, give a little wiggle, and there we go. Now if it hasn't cut brilliantly, which this hasn't because I didn't move it around the board very well, with your thumb, just use your thumb to just sharpen those edges. That's all you're doing. You're taking away all the kind of fluffy bits that it hasn't cut out, and then that's perfectly good. And then the next we're going to go to the Cassie Brown toolkit, and I'm just getting my scissors, and all we're going to do is very carefully just trim around the edges, and then as we turn round gently, you can see I'm going all the way round, as you can see. Now that just brings it to life, I think. We're going to put it on the pad, and then with the ball tool just very softly thin those edges down, and by doing this it'll want to kind of curl out, which is lovely. That's what you want. Just gives it a little bit of life there. Now once we've done that, we come back to our rose. Now I'm going to use the one that's already dry. So again, leave it to dry just for an hour or so. And then we're going to simply push that through. Not quite all the way up. And then we get our water. This is just water. And then I'm going to brush along those sections. And then just gently press. Now I don't press all the way to the ends. I think it looks more realistic if it just kind of curls down a little bit, not too much. I just think it adds to it. There we are. I think that looks really good. Now the finishing touch, and I just think this makes the back of the rose, is a ball of paste about the size of a pea, roll into a ball, and then into a cone shape, like so. Now what you're going to do is push the wire through the largest part of the cone and aim to come right through the end there. We push all the way up. Again, just a little bit of water just to help it secure, and push on, like so. Now I'm just pushing that so that it's firmly on. I don't mind the seam there because they are actually two separate parts, but I think that really adds to the rose. And I have already taped this up just with green florist tape there. But as you can see, that rose looks beautiful. And if I bring my posy in that I have here, I don't think that would be out of place joining my posy full of Old English roses. Okay, so that's the end of my video. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen today, and I look forward to showing you more. Thanks for watching.